Golu sat back on his little haunches and pulled and pulled. What is the meaning? Haunches, you know? Sit at thigh and buttock. You know, sitting with the thigh and our back. Our back. With our back. Just like Golu was sitting with his thigh and buttock. That is haunches. Golu sat back on his little haunches and pulled his nose. Then the crocodile slipped into the water, making it all creamy with great sweeps of his tail, and he also pulled and pulled. So whenever Golu was sitting at his haunches and pulling his nose, at the same time the crocodile slipped into the water, making it all creamy with great sweeps of his tail. With his tail, he pulled his nose. Then the python coiled himself round Golu's stomach and said, "Let's pull harder." So python helped him. What did he do? The python coiled himself around the Golu's stomach. Then both of them together pulled the nose of elephant. Golu dug in all his forelegs in the mud and pulled. The nose kept on stretching. So both the sides, both are pulling. Python and elephant are pulling one side. The other side, the crocodile is pulling to opposite side. So what happened? The nose started to grow. The nose kept on stretching. At each pull, the nose grew longer and longer, and it hurt Golu. So what happened? Each time when crocodile and Golu pulls each other, the nose started to grow longer and longer. The nose was now 5 feet long, but it was free at last. So at last what happened? When the nose grew up to 5 feet, he was released. Golu sat down with his nose wrapped in a big banana leaf and hung it in the great grassy Limpopo river to cool. So both the sides, the nose was pulling, so he was paining. So to get a little relaxed, he wrapped his nose up in a big banana leaf where on the bank of the Limpopo river to cool himself. Golu sat there for 2 days, waiting for his nose to cool and to shrink. He thought after some days this trunk will short, it will shrink. It grew cool, but it didn't shrink. It grew to cool means it was, when our part of the body will be pulling to both sides, what will happen? It will be paining. So he will waited for to cool his trunk, but it didn't cool. It grew cool, but it didn't shrink. At the end of the second day, a fly came and stung Golu on the shoulder. Golu lifted his nose, long nose, that is trunk, and with it hit the fly dead. So normally, whenever a fly or insect come and sting the animal, the elephant, he cannot fly it away. But this time he could keep away the fly with the help of this long trunk. Then advantage number 1, hissed the python. You couldn't have done it with a small nose. Try and eat a little now. So he is consoling his friend. So you have got an advantage with this long trunk, you could fly away that insect from stinging. So you got an advantage. Now, so he was not eating anything because he was upset because his nose become very long. So now his friend is telling him, try and eat a little now. Golu put out his trunk and plucked a large bundle of grass. He dusted it against his forelegs and stuffed it into his mouth. So the second advantage is coming. What did he do? He plucked a large bundle of grass and dusted it against his forelegs and stuffed into his mouth. Then Python is telling advantage number 2. History the Python. You couldn't have done it with a small nose. Don't you think the sun is too hot now? So he is telling about the advantages of the trunk because he was being upset, no? So when he realizes about the advantages, he can cool himself. Golu scooped up some mud from the bank and slapped it on his head because it was hot sun and he felt very hot. So what did he do? He scooped up some mud from the bank and slapped it on his head so that he can cool himself. Then Python is telling advantage number 3 is to the Python. You couldn't have done it with a small nose. If you have a small nose, you could not scoop this mud and put it over your head. But now you could do it with your long trunk. Thank you, Mr. Python, said Golu gratefully. I shall remember all this and now I shall go back to my family. So, I shall remember all those things and I will do practical in my life, and now I wish to go to my family. Children, I think you will like this story. It's a very interesting one, and let us listen to the exercises. Answer the following questions. Whom does Golu ask? Why don't you ever fly like other birds? Second question. Which uncle of Golu had red eyes? Third question, Golu's relatives did not answer his questions because. And fourth one, who advised Golu to go to the Limpopo river? Why did Golu go to the river? The crocodile lay on the bank of the Limpopo river. Golu thought it was dash. 3 options are there, find out the answer. What did the crocodile do to show that it was real crocodile? Come here, little one, and I shall whisper the answer to you. The crocodile said this because options are there, find out the answers. Who helped Golu on the bank of the river? Name 2 things the elephant can do with his trunk and 2 he cannot. Children, try to answer all the questions and send it to my WhatsApp. And read the lesson several times to know about the language and also to get interest in reading stories. Thank you.